All right, welcome back to the Junkman's Adventures. I'm the Junkman, and this is the Shifting Gears podcast. And I have on the phone my good friend SkullKrusher, and we're live this time. So if you're watching this archived, check out the chat replay, and you can see what we're talking about. If some people start asking questions in the chat, but anyway. I was thinking about something this week, and I saw a viral post like on Instagram or Facebook, and some folks were talking about it of kind of a big like bar slash arcade kind of that's 21 plus. It got to me thinking about retro games and old arcade games and some of my childhood and growing up, and and me and SkullKrusher here, we're of the same generation, but same age. We kind of grew up with this kind of stuff. Um, and I kind of thought it'd be an interesting topic because to think about on how they're marketing and kind of the sustainability of these kind of outfits. Skull, why don't you kind of give me, did you go to many arcades growing up, or where kind of did you get exposed to a lot of arcade games? I guess I should say.
I would say probably going to get pizza
Okay,
is where
yeah,
I
Pizza
mostly
Hut.
played arcade games.
that's that's another thing. I think most of us probably remember Pizza Hut, and always had, no matter what where you lived, probably had one or at least one or two. I can remember at least having like the Ms. Pac-Man and Galaga art cocktail table, and then of course Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I forget what the 4 player one that you stood around. Forget the exact uh, name of that one exactly. I mean, it might have been just, was it just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade or something? Uh, that was one of my favorites.
Something like that.
Yeah. Um, but I guess my nostalgia for them and whatnot is kind of the same, and uh, enjoyed playing them. Didn't get to play a lot of arcade growing up, being we were in more of a rural area, so arcade games again were at like the Pizza Hut, wherever that was. Sometimes little delis and diners and restaurants had one or two, kind of in a waiting area. But you know, uh, we'll probably get into favorite games, but that's interesting. That's why I got to thinking about these arcades, or one of them I think is called Barcade. That's like their trademark. So I'll try not to use that, but I think it's a chain. But there's all these other independents that have sort of popped up, and I have not been to one yet, but I've read about them, seen them, heard of them, heard of people who've gone to them, and I guess my question out of the gate about them is some of the sustainability. Like I stated before, uh, to me, the demographic is 21 plus at most of these, and then it's got to be 30 somethings, 40 somethings, maybe even early 50, people in their early 50s, because we're the ones that grew up with these uh, games and ways to play. uh, we grew up in the era of you know almost the birth of the video game. I mean, not exactly, but when it really started getting big. um, and we we went from when it was like really primitive, and to when it started really advancing, and video games started being more, I guess, socially acceptable, and more in depth, engaging, actually calling them entertainment. And sorry, got my cat here with me. Um, but anyway, like, I guess I'm just trying to think of is someone under 30 going to be attracted to this type of establishment, where they, I mean, I'm glad they exist so they can discover the games, but they're not going to have the same memories of playing that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at Pizza Hut, for example. Using that example, I mean, what's your thoughts there? I mean, do you think it has appeal uh, to those that maybe never really been a true arcade or with these kind of arcade games?
Um, well, maybe. I guess I think about it kind of like, well, maybe they'll think it's cool when they kind of grow up and can do that stuff. I don't.
Well, I guess I'm saying because most of these are 21 plus, you're already eliminating a certain demographic with this, though. Kind of that's where my thought and opinion kind of is going, is like, well, once you're uh, over the um, I guess over the age of 21, you've already probably been console gaming on something like the original Xbox, or maybe even the later iterations of the PlayStation 3 and up. And why would you go back to um, something like that? I guess with that younger generation.
Yeah, I don't know unless it's some social thing, maybe.
Well, and
You
that's
know,
the thing.
like a fun place to go hang out. You
Well,
know.
and that's the only thing I've thought of, is that um, folks might that the younger folk might see it as just an alternative hangout. But I don't know. It seems like uh, to me, in the last 10 years, places like Dave and Buster's, or I think there was one called like Jillian's, and I can think of some like local fun center type places, kind of uh, haven't been as popular. I don't think. I mean, I'm thinking of things like bowling, for example. Big kind of boom I remember in the '90s was kind of like cosmic bowling and all that stuff, and I'm sure they still do it. But you're actually in a bowling league, so you probably have a perspective there. But what do you think that is even waned in the last, say, 10 years or something, 10, 15 years?
No, not necessarily. Because where I go bowl at, they still do it. And all the college kids still go there. They love to
Okay.
go on Thursday nights and stuff. So
Okay, so I mean, maybe I'm off here. Maybe these type of places do have a longer shelf life and mass appeal. I guess where I'm going is like when I age, and because they're 21 plus, I'm not gonna be able to take my kids there to say, hey, this is how Dad played video games. I mean, yeah, I have my Atari 2600 that my kids will play and interact with and understand and get the history of, this is where this kind of entertainment started. But um, I won't be able to take them to that kind of arcade, because like even a Dave and Buster's of, say, 15 years ago, that I was probably 10 to 15 years ago, is probably the last time I've been in an establishment like that, which is kind of an all ages deal. The arcade games, sure, they have a few classics in there, and I always gravitate to the Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and whatnot. But as kind of my favorites, when I find them, I have to put a quarter in them. But the more modern 90s, like Lethal Enforcers and stuff like that, I have memories of playing that. But I wouldn't say those are my favorite kind of games. And the Aerosmith game, Revolution. um, I don't know if you remember that one. But
yeah, I do.
okay, we'll probably get into that later. But it's kind of like, I remember those kind of seem like they were falling out of favor for more, just like other kinds of things. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe it will ignite the younger generation, even though they didn't grow up with these particular games, especially like pinball um, being a big thing. Uh, Maybe they'll enjoy and have an appreciation for it. I hope so. But that was my question. It's like they're just making a lot of their money. Well, some of these are just making a lot of their money off of the food and drinks, like most bars and stuff. And I know some have live music, but this one that spurred this topic for me was I think it's called the Game Terminal in Nashville, Tennessee. That their games are set to free play. Now their pinballs, I guess you pay, but almost all their coin ops video games are set to free play. And so you could literally go in there, not buy a thing, and leave. And I just wonder how sustainable that is. And let's take out this whole pandemic thing, because we'll get back to some semblance of normalcy in the world. It might take time, but let's pretend that's not a factor here, and you can just go in and all that. And I think you can now in a lot of these places, but let's take that as a factor out. I just, in 10 years, is a place like this still going to be around? Is what I kind of question. After I've gotten my nostalgia childhood out of my system, I guess, and introduce this stuff to my kids, am I going to continue to go back? I mean, when my kids leave the house, am I going to go back to a place? Am I going to want to go back to the place like this when I'm 65 or something? That's what I guess I'm kind of thinking. Is that or is it perpetually going to be that 20 something in college kids? Sounds like with the bowling, it's kind of still a thing, which is encouraging, I guess, being so far removed from it.
Yeah.
Actually, do they have any arcade games at the bowling alley? Or where you go bowl is pretty much just a bowling alley. It's not really a fun side.
No, it's expanded quite a bit. They got laser tag and
Okay. Laser
glow
tag.
golf and they still have the arcade area,
Okay.
and they're adding an indoor go-kart track.
Oh, wow. So going back to that kind of stuff. See, I guess that's encouraging, because it seemed like a lot of that sort of waned there for a while. In some areas, for example, go kart tracks seemed like they were closing down, especially the outdoor outfits. I mean, obviously, where we're from, weather's a thing that shuts them
Yeah.
down, but more frequently, seasonal. And same with the outdoor mini golf. But the video games, I just really are a thing. I just um, I just don't know how the arcades, if that's sustainable. I'm still questioning it. I see there could be a way to keep it fresh and all this, but I also can see that as I age, the younger ones are going to probably care less and less, maybe, about this kind of experience. And my rationale for that is the way the retro game market kind of is. For example, as we've talked on well, you know me, and I never really progressed past the Atari VCS or 2600. I didn't even own an NES growing up. Of course, I played it and at a friend's house, and the Super Nintendo, and but my gaming kind of history and knowledge kind of stops at that PS2 with your PlayStation 2, actually. But you kept going, and that's the thing. What kept you going with gaming, I guess, and where I did not. Hold on, I gotta let my cat out of the door here. Come on. There. Sorry. That'll be one for the blooper reel. But anyway, What kept you going? I mean, because even when I first started making my own money, where I could buy my own game system, I kind of didn't. I just chose not to.
I don't know, just the games fascinate me, and just had the time to play them and keep going, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. I had the time to play them too. I just kind of wonder because you kind of growing up, you had not every system, of course, but you had at least one of each generation kind of system. It seemed like almost not maybe every single one, right? Name off the
Yeah.
systems you had, starting with the first one, and
Well, the first one would be the Nintendo, the original one.
okay, the NES, yeah,
And we did have an Atari, but that was my dad's.
right. And see, that's kind of where mine came, or the reason I had one is my parents actually played it, but they weren't, I wouldn't say they were gamers, but
Well, and thinking about it, like our Atari was like we brought it out. They'd only bring it out once a year. Otherwise, I don't know where it's sat in the attic or something, I guess. But we'd only bring it out once a year and play it. And then we got the Nintendo. I got it for Christmas one year, and
now speaking of that, where the Atari was your parents, or your dad's, I guess. Now the Nintendo was for you, but did your dad join in on that?
yeah, he was actually really big into gaming.
Wow. See, that's the
Um,
where we were a world away. But that's
he would
interesting.
he would actually he would actually like during the winters when there wasn't so much farming to do and stuff,
Right, just chores with cattle and stuff, morning
he'd
and
be sitting
night.
there playing. Yeah, he'd just be sitting there playing games.
Hmm. That's
Um,
that's interesting.
in fact, that's kind of the half of the reason why I got the Game Boy when they came out.
Okay, so you had handheld, a little bit of a
Yeah,
handheld. See,
yeah.
and I'll stop you there, and then I want to keep going on your little journey. But uh, that's one thing. I mean, me and my sister. I mean, I can't remember really, really, really like wanting a Nintendo. Like, I mean, I think would have been nice, uh, but the Game Boy, we truly wanted, and I want to say the reason why I wanted a game once it came out, Game Boy more versus the original Nintendo was more is I was satisfied with the Atari, and of course the crash had happened, and there were still Atari games for sale when I was little. I remember buying brand new Atari games and peripherals and things, but at deeply discounted prices. We're talking dollar bin type of thing. I bought Mario Brothers. I wished I would have kept the box, but I remember where I bought it. Bought it at Pomida, up there in Holdridge, and bought it for $1 out of the dollar bin, uh, in the sealed in the package, and I loved it. And there's some other ones. I do have some of the boxes for one. Still have stickers like from Target and Kmart and stuff like that. But anyway, so I mean, the Nintendo had taken over and Atari was out of there, but I was satisfied with it. But the Game Boy was like the Nintendo to me, gameplay wise, and with especially was it Mario Land, I guess, and then there was others. Of course, everybody remembers Tetris, but specifically Mario Land, it was like okay, I can get my fix here, and then also like on trips and stuff. But I was satisfied with the Atari, and I wouldn't say play. We went in cycles, but we definitely would play it year round for because that's all we had. But anyway, so like Atari was once a year, Nintendo was all the time, and your dad was into it. But what were some of your favorite games on that system? Let's just kind of go through it.
Um, well, one of my favorite of all times is RC Pro Am,
I remember
which
playing
is,
that. Obviously, yes, that's a very good game. Uh,
and then
Hard.
Castlevania was another good one.
Now, see, I remember watching people play with it. Just didn't that just wasn't a genre of game. I don't think I uh, I don't remember playing it myself. RC Pro-Am, I remember playing a lot in Versus, and I think, could you use the the tap? I forget what they called it, the four score or whatever the hell it is on that or not. I don't remember. Maybe I'm thinking of a different
I
game.
don't know.
But I
I
remember
don't.
doing a lot of two-player action, and that was hard. I remember, but I think it had two-player. Maybe I'm thinking of Ivan Stewart's Off Road. I could be thinking of that. Maybe I do know that could be four-player, and you could use the tap. But the thing is, I had friends, and we just do that sleepovers, whatever, or after schools and stuff like that. So I guess that's why I didn't, truly felt the need that I needed my own NES. I wouldn't have turned it down if somebody would have wanted to give me one, but I did
Yeah.
later in life grab one. But then what did you kind of progress to after that? Did you have a Super Nintendo? Obviously, that's the next.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so you stayed Nintendo. We didn't go to Sega. We didn't have the
No,
Genesis.
I didn't. I didn't even
Genesis
think of
does what
switching.
Nintendo don't, or whatever.
Well, and part of this was Swanee had the Sega version, so I kind of like what you were just saying. I didn't need Sega because if I wanted to play Sega, I'd just go hang out with him.
Right. Yeah. And that's
And
the thing.
and that's
I knew
and
people
that's
that had
what
Segas.
that's what we did too. I mean, like um if he wanted to play Nintendo, he was over at my house, and if he wanted to play Sega, we were over at his house. I mean, we lived a couple miles apart,
Right.
so
Right. Well, and that's my thing. Kind of going back to the arcade. See, we would play at home, but it's like you went into the arcade even in those eras, and granted the games were kind of different, but you just even in those eras you couldn't get the Pac-Man experience or like at that time again. Not my history could be wrong in the timing, but like a game like a shooter like Lethal Enforcers, or trying to think of the other one that was big. What was the one where you shot the aliens in the warehouse? Oh, Area 51,
wasn't that
right?
was
Right? Am I thinking?
yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that one too. Maybe that one on top more than Lethal Enforcers did I like more. But again, you couldn't get that experience at home, so you got your fix of Mario, and then later with the Super Nintendo stuff. But still, you wanted to go and do that versus thing, or the racing games, the Radmobile, and then uh, Cruising USA. Duh, boy, I should have remembered that one right off the top of my head. And then there were some of those motorcycle games like what is it? Sega made some of those, and I can't think of it. What's the motorcycle one that Sega made? I mean, it was ported to a home consoles too, but what the hell was it? It's not Road Rash.
Well, that would have been my guess.
Yeah, but it isn't, because that was EA, and that was a console only deal. That was much later. Ah, shoot. I'm gonna have to Google this, but anyway, moving on. It's like you still wanted to go to the arcade because the arcade experience was still better at that time. I guess is where I'm going with it. And I'm gonna Google this because I need to know now. But so what'd you mostly play on Super Nintendo? Do you remember?
We played a lot of Donkey Kong on it. We had all the sequels to it. That for some reason, well, that one was just had really good graphics, and it was a lot of fun to play.
Well, that one was. I know what I'm thinking of. Hang on, that's it. That's it. Hang on. That was the Sega one I'm trying to think. I know they had a bunch of racing games, and I don't know. Road Rash might have been Sega. I can't remember. But Hang On and like I think Super Hang On might have been. But that's what I was thinking of because it had there were stand up ones and there was others that had the handlebars. Either you actually sat on them or you and then I think he had a clutch or a brake or something. Well, probably a brake just, and the twist throttle. But anyway, I got off topic there. But I had to. It was going to eat at me the whole live stream if I didn't if I didn't look it up or think about it. But yeah, I played Donkey Kong Country. I think that
Yeah.
was that one. I liked F-Zero a lot, I guess, and that game almost made me want to try to acquire one from Christmas, like for Christmas or something. But again, uh,
Yeah.
never got the console. But now, okay, obviously you probably got it for a birthday or a gift or whatever. Now, did your dad did he progress onto that, or did he wanted to stay back with
Yeah.
the Atari and the NES stuff? Did they get too
Actually, kind of a funny
complicated?
story about the. Uh, well, kind of a funny story about the Super Nintendo is we got the package during a snowstorm. So um I don't. This was a big snowstorm. I don't know. I don't. I was trying to think. This was like a whiteout,
Okay.
and so I got stuck at my grandparents' house. My mom was stuck at work, and my dad was the only one at home, and he got this package, and he calls my mom, and my mom's like, "Oh, that's the Super Nintendo." She's like, "Why don't you open it up?" So he opens it
So
up
he's
and
like
he
just
plays it because he had the house to himself. So
okay. So it kind of spoiled the surprise in a way, or it's kind of
I don't know. I can't remember if it was for him or if it was for. I can't remember why we got it. Um, it might have been his birthday present or something.
oh okay.
But
Okay, so he was into it and played. What were kind of the games?
yeah,
Do you remember um, playing any two-player stuff with that? I'm trying to think of two-player stuff on that.
um, no.
Now I remember Sim City. I like that one too. And then also, Populous for whatever reason. And I don't think I could get into any other sort of God games or any more advanced at that than those. But those two I have fond memories of with friend. Like I said, this is all over at a friend's house, but we'd leave the thing running perpetually overnight, and and to just increase the money and just hope that like a disaster didn't happen or whatever. But anyway, that's kind of funny because like either we'd leave and then come back sometime later the next day, like on a weekend, for example, and then see having like a million. Well, I don't know if it was up to $1 million, but almost $1 million, and then you could just kind of build out your city all you wanted, kind of,
Yeah.
without using. There's probably a money cheat. We didn't know it at the time, but did you play? You didn't play any of those games or get any of those games, I'm guessing.
I might have touched Sim City a little bit, but not too much. Um, like I said, we played mostly Super Mario and Donkey Kong and stuff like that.
Okay. Well,
Zeldas and
probably uh, Mario Kart. Can't forget that one. or
actually we didn't have Mario Kart.
oh really? Because I thought everybody
Yeah.
eventually got that one. Because I remember playing that one in two-player in the battle mode. We played battle mode a lot. Um, I remember me and friends that'd be almost like a tournament type thing. We'd get going with a bunch of us. Uh,
Yeah.
Speaking, rounding it back to the arcades, I do know there is some more modern, into the 2000s, like tournament kind of battle mode type of arcade games that came. I mean, especially like I'm a Pac-Man fan, okay, and I know there's like a tournament edition Pac-Man deal. I've never played it, but I've seen it being played, and it's kind of like a 4-player thing, and that seems interesting, and that seems like that could games like that, some get together things, could be what keeps some of this modern what you want to call it, arcade or 21 plus arcade experiences maybe alive. But like moving on to the next console, what did you get after that? That'd be like a that'd be the 64 or the GameCube. Did you even have a GameCube? I didn't know anybody who had a GameCube.
I don't know that we had a GameCube, or if we did, we didn't have many games for it. I don't know. I did have an N64,
Well,
but I
Excite
also
Bike we
kind of
used to
fell
play.
off of
See, and that's when
gaming there for a little bit. Like, I
yeah. Well, we used to play the Excite Bike, the 64 version. I mean, uh, right?
yeah, and that's why I don't. That's where it's a little fuzzy because I kind of quit gaming there for a little bit, but it's like,
Okay.
after I got out of college and stuff, then the PlayStation and the N64 happened about the same time, and that's why I don't know which one was next.
Well, then that's the thing, and
Because we
I don't know that I remember
because we
playing
played
much
we
PlayStation with anybody, including you. I mean, you had one, I think, right? Maybe not.
yeah, I had one because that's what Grand Theft Auto was on.
Well, Grand Theft Auto 2, I remember, um, the top-down
No,
version, or
that's
maybe that was one, whichever I remember the first two were like
no,
top-down.
yeah, they were, but this is like, well, technically this is 3, but this is the first version of the new.
Okay. Okay. When are you talking about GTA 3? Because that was PlayStation 2. I do remember that. I do know that enough.
No, that was PlayStation. I'm pretty sure of it.
I'm gonna have to Google that. I think 3 was the PlayStation. GTA 3. Well, it doesn't really matter. You had both. And then, of course, Vice City we played a lot. And that's about where. And then, of course, the ATV Off-Road Fury games. Or, I
Yeah.
think. Then didn't you have a couple of just motorcycle only ones, too? Like the.
No, I got
Didn't THQ or something have some, you know, motocross or supercross type?
that was for the 64. If we played that.
Was that okay? Because I remember, it had riders, like our favorite riders, especially at the time, and legends, Emig and McGrath, and try to think what other ones were in that. But I remember like Emig was in there, maybe even Jeff Ward, but I know Jeff Emig. Now I gotta look at that. And what is it? Nintendo 64.
Well, that's what we used to put. That's when we used to have the GoldenEye parties where we'd like all of us get together in the basement and play GoldenEye in the multiplayer mode.
Okay, yeah, I remember that, and I remember that's one thing. Well, I have good memories of that, and playing that game. I remember I was terrible at it. That just
Well, the problem was like Sean and I were like had the game pretty much figured out, so
yeah. Well, yeah.
And we kind of figured out where to hide and stuff, and like they had the rail gun, so you could like hide in a room in a hidden room where people couldn't see you whatsoever, and you could see through walls and you could shoot through walls. And
okay,
yeah, it got
like I said, I don't have specific memories of that. But you know what? And going back to those motorcycle games, I think it was the MX Unleashed. Maybe it was the MX Unleashed series that we played. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. You're pretty sure it was the 64 that had whatever that one was. Maybe, I don't know. Well, anyway, I just remember, you could play. That was the first time, or seemed like the first time to me, that you played as some of your favorite riders. Because I remember that. But we played a lot of the ATV Off Road Fury threes. I can't remember which iteration, but those were pretty good. I think those were PlayStation 2 though, not 64. Maybe the first one was. I can't remember. But they were good. But let's see. So you had a PS1, PlayStation 2, and
Yeah, it was Nintendo 64 THQ.
Okay. It Yeah, and I forget what they called it, but yeah, you're probably right. Now it seems like, and now correct me if I'm wrong, because I think I remember when you first.
It was MX versus ATV. I'm looking it up now.
Okay, maybe I didn't think it was but you're probably, that sounds more right. Yeah, because let's just go to the wiki, even though Wikipedia can be. Yeah, you know what? Looking at the dates when it was released and all that, that sounds like about, yeah. That sounds like it was about the right era. Okay. Yeah, and then there was ATV Off Road Fury and Fury 2, 3, and, well, maybe 3 is. You probably had more than that. That's the last one I think I remember playing, though. But, what was I going to say? I had a memory of that, one of those. Oh, your PS2. I almost think I remember when you first got that or bought it, and I think part of the reason you went that route, for sure, is rather than whatever Nintendo had going on at the time, was because it was a DVD player also, right? I want to say
No,
that influenced some of your decision. Maybe not.
No, actually, because I switched to PlayStation with the original PlayStation, and at the time, you know, there was Gran Turismo and
Oh yeah, Gran Turismo. Jeez, you're remembering all the good ones that I'm forgetting because
yeah,
you played them more.
and in like I said, Grand Theft Auto and stuff, and those were the games I was into, and PlayStation was the easiest way to play that. You couldn't play those games on Nintendo. Um, Obviously, Gran Turismo is a PlayStation
Exclusive, yeah.
only, yeah, and Grand Theft Auto, they just never really. They've only been on PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, and then later they ported them to PC. I mean, that was the thing with the Grand Theft Auto series, is PC always came, like years later with those.
Yeah.
I think it's different, like now where consoles are more PCs anyway, but
well, they are and they aren't.
well, they are and they aren't. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, because even the Xbox, while it runs somewhat of you could argue somewhat of a version of Windows, it's not, it's not compatible like that, and there's technical reasons. I've watched videos on it, I know, but it but I mean, back then though, is just a PC was just always going to have more capability than a console. You bought a console because you just, when you bought that game, you stuffed it in, it just ran. Whereas PCs, you had to freaking have the right video cards and right sound cards at the time, and then tweak the settings to make it look worth a damn. And kind of like my stream is right now, is a little fuzzy because of the bit rate. but but consoles, it's like, that's what you bought I remember that was kind of the big sell, was always consoles. It's like, when you bought the game, you just knew it was going to work, wasn't going to be buggy and all that. Of course, now I think that's all changed. Is,
yeah,
with they're releasing, and I know that's a controversy too, is games are not coming out fully released, and there's patches and all that stuff. But I mean, so that's slowly, like you say, they are and they aren't, but they're slowly, for better or worse, they're slowly going that direction. But and maybe that's why I never continued gaming is just the progression of the hardware from all standpoints. Just like felt like you'd be behind, or I mean, part of it was time. Didn't always have a lot of time to play games, but even when I did, it just felt like, not that I'd always want the next greatest thing, but um, the fact that, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't be able to get new games, or I'd get bored with it and I'd be like, well, geez, I just spent $300 or whatever on this system, and it's just sitting here collecting dust. I don't know. Which, looking back now, that probably wouldn't have happened, but I don't know. I try to think why I never really, when I could, bought systems. I guess partly the games got a little maybe too advanced for me, or because I just like pick up and play ones, and there's still those games. I get that out there, so uh, I don't know. That's the thing. You kind of kept up with it, but I guess I just wanted time wasters where you'd actually get into those. I mean, because that's what I remember about even the GTA's. It's like, oh my gosh, uh, and I'm probably wrong about this, but it take 25, 30 hours to complete that game. You know, I'm probably that's
Yeah, but you can save.
well,
You
yeah,
can save as you
I
want
get it.
to, and you can go.
Well, I
You
get
don't
that.
have to do
No,
the
I mean,
missions
no, I mean, I knew that.
if you don't want to.
No, I mean, I knew that. I mean, The Legend of Zelda, first, well, I don't know if you're gonna say the first game, but I mean, first big game that's successful where you just weren't gonna try and beat it in one sitting. I guess that's the thing, is I didn't think I'd be someone that would want to play a game over months or of my life or a year, even then, I guess. And that maybe that's part of it, is I just saw gaming like that, so I just didn't keep up with it. I probably missed out on some stuff too, because some of those kind of seemed like they'd be kind of fun. I guess. Well, in the racing games, I always like those, but seems like I should have bought it for those type of games. The Gran Turismos, and maybe the Need for
Well,
Speeds.
and
And then now I think
well, Need for Speed isn't bad, but my favorite one right now is actually Forza Horizon, because it's not just driving in races, but you actually have to drive to the race, and
okay. So it has role
it's kind of
playing
an
elements in it too. Even then, huh?
yeah.
Well, I mean, there's always been certain career modes and that stuff, but yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to put my finger on it. And even today, I could just go out and buy a system if I wanted to, but it never hardly enters my mind. I guess maybe just because I'd have to start over, just having. And I'm gonna sound like an old fart, but I mean, this is, you can't see it right now, but it's like this is almost too many buttons for me. And then navigating menus and just goals and objectives and things. And I know the games break them down, but boy, I don't know. Well, that's why I always thought maybe I'd like sim games, the more current sim games and stuff. But it's like, man, you gotta sometimes put a lot of time into those. I'm talking The Sims explicitly. Not all of them are like that,
Yeah.
but the actual sim, the Sims games, not Farming Simulator. I could totally see that, because that could be kind of a 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there sort of, save your progress, and there you go.
Yep.
But, so that's why those sort of
well, and that game, there's absolutely no way to lose that game unless, I mean, because there's actually no goal necessarily. It's just you want to farm.
Yeah, well, and I think like the sim, or all those sim
You
games
could
are
if
sort
you
of that way.
if you feel like it. If you feel like it, you could run the farm into the ground if you want to, and still
Yeah.
you won't be able to buy anything. But
Yeah, I just say right now with kids and stuff, I just don't think I'd have the time to do it. And then of course I like to try to do this thing called YouTube a little bit, which I fail pretty hard at, but But I mean, it's all for fun. So I mean, it's like, who cares, but it's like, well, if I add another element on that, and I know I could stream it, you stream and stuff, so I should do that, but I don't know. There's only so many hours in the day, and I do have a day job, and things, and I don't know. Maybe I'm making excuses. I could make time. I know I could, but it's just like how people they want to see more motorcycle restorations, and my God, it just takes a lot of time. That just I got to sometimes do other things, but that's why. So I guess circling them back around to these arcades and stuff, I'd like to get to one, because there's a few that are within easy reach. Mostly just to see them, experience some of those games that I haven't experienced, rather than emulating them and all that. Uh, Funny thing is about the pinball though is I never was big fan of like in our day modern new pinball machines with the electromechanical and the video screens and all that. I always gravitated if they had them the older electromechanical rather than the digital ones. That's what I'm trying to say. Digital ones. Um, and I have a couple of. We always did have a couple. I got a 1964 Gottlieb and a 74. So they're 10 years apart, but they're electromechanical and a lot of fun to play. And I just never found the more modern ones, uh, most fun to play. They would be themed and all this. Ones I remember specifically, of course, like The Simpsons, Kiss. Kiss's pinball machine. There might be one like a Knight Rider themed, and it just didn't add a lot to it for me. I guess I didn't ever really like those. That's why I gravitated more to the video games for that. If I wanted pinball, I wanted the more early, more visceral, tangible, where you hear the bells and the bells ding and stuff, and not the sounds coming out of the speakers and all that, and the dot matrix displays and getting scores. Even though that was not a lot, but scores into the millions of points on those. Whereas the older ones, it's like a couple 100,000 was a good score, on those, because the score, each little bumper was just 1 or 10, and then the pop bumpers were like 100, type of deal. But yeah. Anyway, well, I think we might want to wrap this up, I guess, here. Thanks for listening along, folks. And if you kind of like this podcast idea, we have a back catalog of them you might want to check out. Go check, subscribe, and like this. Share it around. Go check out SkullKrusher's Twitch stream. He's streaming, as he said. What do you stream over there? Which games are you kind of streaming every once in a while? What's the main ones you do once?
Mostly I just do Farm Simulator, but I do Fortnite occasionally, and I have done a Minecraft every once in a while.
Okay. Yeah, well, those are popular games. Check them out. I will say they're very relaxing to watch. And drop him a like and drop him a subscribe, and say hello in his chat whenever he's live, because it's just kind of fun to be able to interact live on these. So I appreciate y'all watching and listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.